$300.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, May the 1st, 2018. Madam Clerk, you will note all of the commissioners are present, county manager, county attorney, and Mr. Imes as well. I would remind you to silence your mobile devices. If you have those with you today, please take a look at those right now so that they will be quiet during the meeting, and I'll remind our presenters and board members as well to turn on your microphones when you speak today so that everybody can hear you, and if you come to the table to present up front, please turn that microphone also so that you can be heard and also heard over the internet. Gentlemen, it's time to approve the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of presentation item number 3, EMS recognition of receiving the American Heart Association Mission Lifeline EMS Gold Plus Award.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Thank you, Maynard. Those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I believe that's all of us, Madam Clerk. This brings us to item number 3, presentations. Item 1 on presentations is from the Burke County Public Schools, presentation of financial data for the period ending March 31, 2018. That will be presented by Keith Lawson, Burke County Public Schools Finance Officer. Good afternoon, Keith.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be before you today. I only wish I didn't have to go back to work when I leave here with this gorgeous weather. I'll be rather brief. You all have heard basically this same presentation twice already this fiscal year. Only the numbers change, and what I'll do is hit the important facts which are relevant and important, to you all in this. The first page of what you're looking at is our estimated total revenues in that first column for this year, which were $107.5 million. Your next two columns are the current spending, March year to date. That'd be through 3 quarters of our fiscal year. We're at $78.5 million in spending compared to the previous year of $77.5. The important fact here is that 1.3% number that's bolded. What this represents is a 1.3% increase in spending over the previous year. $1 million, yes, is a lot of money, but increase year to year when you're talking this amount of money, that's very, very nominal. With our increases in wages, increase in employers' health insurance and retirement premiums, you would expect that number to be much higher. If we were on target and on budget, that'd be a 3.4% increase. So what that translates to you all is we're under budget at this point in the year. Not necessarily the best situation for the school system, but from my perspective, being in charge of the finances, I certainly like these results, but it's primarily due to vacancies, unfilled vacancies through the course of this year. Every quarter I've reported to you unfilled vacancies, both in teaching positions and in classified positions. And as of this report, we still have 8.5 certified or teaching positions vacant and 7 classified vacancies. So as a result of those, we are performing very well to budget this year. Again, not the best situation for the school system. I'm sure those departments would love to have those teachers and those folks. On page 2, what's represented is specifically the funding that you all, the county, provide the school system. We have a few columns there that represent prior years as a comparison. but I'll draw your attention to the column under the 17-18 header called budget. We had budgeted basically $16 million this year, and utilization of fund balance of $335,000. If I could draw your attention over to the column titled third, and down to the number $1,776,000. That represents our revenues over expenditures. Further to the right, under the column total, what that represents, the $1,260,000, is our contribution to fund balance through 3 quarters of this year. Now, that's not necessarily not typical of results. Last year at this same point in time, our contribution to fund balance was $1.4 million. What happens is in our 4th quarter, that's our heaviest quarter of spending. That's when all the certified and staff will receive their supplements. And of course, we finish out the year with a lot of facilities projects and maintenance. So we anticipate, rather than using $334,000 in fund balance this year, a contribution of approximately $200,000 or so. So again, we're very, very pleased, and I hope you all are as well, especially hearing that, considering you're in budget talks right now. And with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Any questions for Keith on his report?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of quick ones, Keith. On your insurance and retirement, one went up 2, one went up 5%. Do they not work with your calendar year? With your school year rather than the calendar year? And if it does, why did it go up in mid-year?
Our fiscal year, as you know, same as yours, runs from July 1 to June 30. Retirement rates and health insurance rates are set typically by the General Assembly January 1. So we'll be at one rate halfway through our fiscal year, and then it'll increase in the second half.
The good news is, I guess, that you got May and June left, and very short time, so you're going to be okay to get through the year in fine fashion.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Other questions for Keith? All right, hearing none, this will remain on the agenda without objection. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
This brings us to item number 2, Western Piedmont Community College, presentation of financial data for period ending March 31, 2018. This will be presented by Sandy Holman, Chief Financial Officer for the college. Afternoon, Sandy.
Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to give a brief summary of our finances through March 31st, 2018 as we head into the last quarter of fiscal year 2018. First, we'll look at the state funds. We have a formula budget of $14,055,250 with additional allocations throughout the year of $464,137. So our total state budget as of March 31st was $14,519,387. Through March 31st, 2018, we have spent $10,853,431, or 74.8%, almost 75%. This doesn't include items that are encumbered since we're on a cash basis system. And we'll say our state budget is a little tight right now, that we are watching very closely, because you do, as Mr. Lawson said, you do spend more in the 4th quarter than you do in earlier quarters, but we are watching that very closely. The next 3 columns in light blue represent the county budget and actual expenditures. Our current budget is $2,485,200, and we have received $1,639,176 and spent $1,798,479 through the 3rd quarter, utilizing 72.4%. Again, the county appropriation for the month of March didn't come into the 1st of April, so you're not seeing that reflected in there, but it has been received. So at 72.4% of our budget, we are on track with our county funds for 2018 and see no red flags in that area. The last 3 columns show our institutional budget, which we have budgeted $5,675,855 for our institutional funds, and we've spent 92.8%, which is typical for our institutional funds because the majority of funds for Those accounts are financial aid, which most of that is in the fall and the spring semester. We'll have one more disbursement of financial aid, but that's a smaller amount in June. So we're on track with our institutional funds as well. The next item you'll see is the chart where we break down the county categories so that you can see where the money is spent with our county funds. And salaries and benefits is still one of the highest at almost 25%. Utilities at 26%, and then contracted services at 15%. That concludes my report for the summary through March 31st. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have about these figures.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. Gentlemen, any questions for Sandy on her report?
Sandy, I was hoping on your description you'd explain the 12% and the little block at the bottom on the right. Anyway, I divided 159 and the 436, I didn't come up with 12%. So where does that 12 come in?
It should be the 279 is the total amount that we have in fund balance, which is 12, should be 12% of the county budget.
Okay. All right, got you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Other questions for Sandy? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Which brings us to item number 3, EMS recognition of receiving the American Heart Association Mission Lifeline EMS Gold Plus Award. That'll be presented by Jason Black this afternoon.
Good afternoon, glad to be here. This award, just a little bit about it, is presented by the American Heart Association. The Gold Plus Award is the highest award an EMS system can get, given by American Heart Association. 7 were given across the state, and we were lucky enough to receive that recognition. There's a lot of technical parameters that you have to meet over a 24-month period to get that, and we consistently have done that. I talked with a lady at Fry Hospital that coordinates it, and she was down at the meeting, and she said our numbers were some of the best in the state. So I'll be glad to take any questions about the award, and I can get into the technical aspects of it, but it's pretty technical, if you'd like me to.
All right, thank you, Jason. Looking forward to that presentation. Any questions for Jason on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just point out, your agenda abstract is on page 138.
Jason, how many of these awards are across the state?
7.
So we're one of 7 out of 100 counties that have this.
And interestingly, 3 of the 7 in the state are western. Caldwell County, Burke County, and Catawba received the award. There's nothing west, and then the rest is spread out across the state, pretty much to I-95, the center part of the state, that they're actually close to metropolitan hospitals. So we're the furthest west.
Other questions?
Just a comment, I think that's a prestigious honor, to say the least. And from my side, I think we need to do a Attaboy Girl Award to you folks, for the MS folks, for receiving that honor. And behind that receiving, obviously, is the good work and the good deeds to get the reward. So from me to you, I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you
And
very
wish
much.
you continued success.
I'll pass that on to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Other questions, comments? Okay, Jason, thank you for being here. We look forward to the presentation.
Thank
We're
you.
proud of all that you guys are doing for us. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item 4, scheduled public hearings. We do not have any scheduled public hearings this month, so that'll take us on to item number 5, consent agenda. First item on the consent agenda is Burke County Public Schools school construction change orders number 5, 6, and 7. This will be presented by Bob Ackford, the Assistant Auxiliary Services Director.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak this afternoon. Change order number 5 is for the deletion of 59 fire dampers inside the school and the addition of 9 safety harness anchors for the roof. That will bring our total to 33 with a change of $2,856. Change order number 6 is providing the underground electricity across Michelle Street over to the concession stand at the football field. The change in an electrified hinge in the entrance of the building where the visitors will sign into the school. Once they are signed in, they will go to one of the far doors where they will be buzzed into the building at that point, and the addition of a roof drain at the media center area of the school. Total for that was $20,482. Change order number 7 is a timeline for phased-in occupancy for the building. Areas B and D of the building, which is on the Bouchelle Street end of the school, the classroom end of the building, start bringing in furniture and phasing in at that point on July 2nd. Areas A and C, which is a media center, office area, July the 16th, and the gym, cafeteria, and auditorium area on July the 30th, with August 1st being our target date for occupancy.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Any questions for Bob on this item?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it talked about the dampers and removing them before we get the school painted. Was that just a incorrect one ordered or a new one, or can you expand on that?
I have Mr. John Court with us. He's our lead architect. If he will.
Architects hate to say, we made an error. We specified too many fire dampers, and we have walls. It's a return air plenum building, which means we save the cost of return air ductwork above the ceiling and just bring the air back to the air handler. The way you plan it from the beginning, you can save a lot of money that way. The issue was that if you have a janitor's closet, we will take the walls around the janitor's closet up to the roof deck above, but we don't want the fumes from the chemicals in the janitor's closet getting into the return air stream. And you have instances like if you have a dryer in a room, we've got 6 washer dryers. You don't want a lint fire to get loose in this plenum, so you build a wall around it. Well, our mechanical engineer explained this to his draftsman, and he explained that to his draftsman. About, Simon said, third down the line, got to put fire dampers in all these walls that go up to the roof above. So that was just a mistake. And we discussed this with Michael Krotz, and he said, unless it's a rated wall, we don't want it to look like a rated wall. It walks like a duck, talks like a duck. You'd think it's a duck, but no, it's not. So this is a mistake that benefited and a credit to Burke County. And Fire Marshal didn't want it anyway. So,
Well, if it's an overorder, it's an easy problem to fix then.
that's right.
The second question I had was, I noticed the discussion on paper about some of the cement not meeting requirements of hardness. I just wanted to ask, and I noticed that it had no load-bearing efforts on it. And I guess my question, are we good with that cement 15, 20, 40 years down the road? Or
Absolutely. There are instances where you make all the concrete strength below grade a specific amount. Keep it all the same, they won't. But that's contract. Okay, so we call for it all to be 3,000 PSI below grade contract. Building code says it's 2,500 pounds below grade. That's North Carolina State Building Code. And this is tested. Every pour is tested. So we know exactly what the formulation is that the concrete company is providing and is on the job. Well, they came in and we had some concrete testing that was a few hundred pounds less than 2,500 pounds that is required by building code. So we had our engineers test it all and do the computations, and we don't need 2,500. We reviewed this with Mr. Crotts. He agreed we don't need it. Well, we had a wet spring. Contractor was asking for time requests, had enough to get him into September or October because of the number of rain days. So we said, Mr. Contractor, how long do you think it's going to take to dig up all that concrete, take it away, and pour new concrete? Don't you think that's about the amount of time it rained on you this year? And he said, yeah, I think that's right. So we did this no-cost change order to accept material that didn't actually comply with the specification by a few hundred pounds. And the main thing was trading for time. So it accomplishes the goals, Burke County School, to get you in the building by August 1st. And that eliminates all questions of time extensions. Contractor signed a date certain completion date of August 1st. It can rain from every day from here to August 1st, and he's not going to request time extensions. He's going to get us into school, which means he's going to spend a lot of time, overtime work, doing every effort to meet the school board's move-in dates. So that was a negotiation that ended up in a zero cost increase. But the overall picture is Mark Balcom, president of Hickory Construction Company, personally involved in the job, and he has pledged we're going to have this school August 1st. That's not an easy task. And then you say, at what cost? Well, many times when you set a budget, you tell folks, okay, you're going to receive bids, and you should expect to have about 5% of that bid cost in change orders, concrete, roof anchors. You keep planning the building as you go. That ought to be about 5%. Well, the building's 85% complete right now, and the total increase in contract cost is less than 1/2 of 1% for the 12 months we've been building the building. So we got tight budget controls on this, and we don't dare say it's okay without informing the commissioners.
Right. Well, I appreciate the explanation, and 200 pounds off of, I guess it's 31 pounds per square inch.
Yeah, 3,000 PSI.
That's less than my weight, isn't it?
Right.
Thank you for the explanation. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the consent agenda, Burke County, Burke Commissioners resolution requesting General Assembly to expand scope and funding of roadside cleanup programs. That'll be presented by Vice Chairman Mr. Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we previously discussed before, the litter problem in Burke County has become, according to all of us, and I think we've all seen it, it's become worse over the last couple of years than it ever has been. So if you would consider a resolution now that we ask the General Assembly to expand both the funding and the scope of litter control by the North Carolina Department of Transportation who now hires out private firms to pick up trash. If we could encourage the assembly to maybe ask them to do an extra pickup each year. They do 2 now. 3 would be great. And also ask the North Carolina General Assembly and law enforcement encourage them to enforce the current litter laws by writing citations. That's probably would help us here in the county.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. You've seen this resolution. Any questions on this matter?
The litter is still basic. I mean, there's a lot of litter in the county, but it's still wherever the trucks come going out to the dump. Any route that goes out to the dump is going to have litter on it. They can clean it up one day and it'll be there the next day.
Yeah. Brown, I think we've tried to address that to some degree.
There's enforcement activities.
Fellow commissioners, what we're doing is we're reversing the trend. We're doing a mandate that requires money, and we do it to the higher ups. And you know, if there was a question on that at all, it would be: are we prepared to give a number of estimate costs of cleaning up Burke County highways? And I guess number 2 would be: are we willing to do 50-50 match if that's how it comes back to us? But I did get a nice little chuckle out of this. And we'll find out in item number 6 where they're mandating us to spend more money. But anyhow, that's all I have to say on that.
Any other comments? This is an item I think we've seen across the state, and a number of other counties also concerned about the same subject. So, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 3 comes from the clerk, reappointments and appointments to child protection and hospitality. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to appoint Beth Cowley, seat number 6, an at-large seat, to for a remainder of a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2021. To reappoint David Russ, seat number 7, at-large, and Brandon Collins, seat number 8, also an at-large seat, to the Child Protection Child Fatality Task Force for the remainder of a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2021. Miss Elizabeth Browning was in seat 6, but she is not seeking reappointment at this time.
Was out in that situation, so.
I guess we do, Maynard. All right, without objection, certainly won't now. This will remain on the agenda. Brings us to item number 5. Madam Clerk, appointment to Western Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is a request to fill a vacancy for seat number 3 on the Western Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees. We had one application on file from Mr. Malone McNeely. I did receive another application late this afternoon, but I believe this applicant is interested in the seat that we'll be doing in June. I will confirm that, but at this moment it's the request to appoint Malone McNeely to seat number 3 to complete an unexpired term ending June 30th, 2019.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this matter? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. This brings us to item number 6, finance item, audit contract for fiscal year 17-18. This is a placeholder. Mr. Imes, you want to make any comments on this item?
Yes, I was looking to see if the auditors were here, but I don't see them present. They were had planned on being here, so I don't know if something came up. But each year the county is required to have its accounts audited by CPA, and so Loudermilk Church, who's been our auditors for quite a while, they have recently given us a proposal. We didn't receive it in time to get it included in the agenda material, but they have proposed a fee for next year in the total amount of $44,700. That is compared to the current fee of $38,450. And the reason for the increase in the audit contract is the requirement on how the auditors have to determine what programs to examine and monitor. The rules have changed, as things like to do from time to time, I think, just to create more work for people. But anyway, since the rules have changed, it's going to require much more work on the auditor's part, so they have proposed an increase in fees. And I can tell you from looking at the listserv, that's happened across the state, so this is not anything new or unusual for Burke County. And actually, there's 2 documents for the board to consider, not just the audit contract, but the state has also required all 100 counties to do an examination of eligibility that will require a separate agreed upon procedures contract, 2 separate documents, and which, the state auditor, in effect, what they're doing is, they're relying on local auditors to do some compliance work, and they have they've told each county that they will examine a certain number of files, and it's the same number for all counties, large and small, which I don't really, see the logic in that. I mean, if you compare Mecklenburg to Hyde or Terrell, I mean, you pull the exact same number of files for clients, and they have to go in and basically redetermine eligibility. The whole works just for compliance. So it saves state auditor from having to send people out to do it. But now the counties have to do that. There's a separate contract. They proposed a fee of $9,800 to do that service, and that will be a report that gets issued to the state auditor's office. So, so you have 2 things: 1, a new one for the agreed upon procedures, and 2, the annual audit contract for the county.
All right, thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul on this matter? This is, as Maynard noted a few moments ago, another change by the state that pushes costs from Raleigh to each county. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, just one that I'm assuming all of you got the nice letter from Loudermilk personally mailed to you that explained this. I got one of those, and when I looked at it, I said, "Oh no, another mandate! Here goes more money out of our pockets." So,
yeah,
no question, just a comment.
All right, thank you, Matt. Any other comment?
Comment, Mr. Chair. I found it alarming when we went down to our last association meeting that Vance County, Nash County, Washington County, and Hyde County, their auditors pulled out and refused to audit their counties because of the cost of the mandate that came back from the state. There was too much work to do, and they said they just would not audit those counties. So those counties now have come to the association and hoping that the association could come in with one, maybe find an auditor that through the association would take on some of these poor counties that they actually couldn't afford to do their audits, and that alarms me tremendously.
Thank you, Johnny. Other comments? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Item number 7, Health Department 2017 State of the County Health Report, and we'll recognize Rebecca Cloud for that report.
Good afternoon, how are y'all?
Afternoon.
I'm not Lisa because I have Lisa working on a DHHS grant for the opioid action initiative, so she can't be in two places at one time. So I said I'd be glad to come and speak to y'all about the 2007 State of the County Health Report. This is a supplement, if you remember, from when we do our community health needs assessment in the off years. Then we present to our stakeholders, of which our local officials, y'all are one of our set of stakeholders, about what's the progress that we have made as a county in regards to our community health needs assessment. Lisa sent you the document. Y'all can read it. I am not going to read to you because that's not one of the things that I ever would like to do, but I would like to just have a few talking points. If you remember this, as I said, this is where we're going to tell you what progress we have made. And we have made some because we've worked well with our Burke Wellness Initiative of about 45 or 50 agencies. They have stayed engaged for over 2.5 years. And on the 3 priority areas of mental health, which you'll find in your packet on page 80, I did write those numbers down this time, that's where we are increasing support for mental health through education, communication, and awareness. And you can actually see, if they scroll down on the progress synopsis there, we've actually put on one big forum last May. May 1st today starts Mental Health Month again, and we're participating with different community activities again this year. But we've actually put on several different programs in this past year and reached many lives that would help. The second priority in regards to substance use disorder, which is on page 81, and where we're trying to reverse the trend of substance use disorder through the interventions with prevention, education, and communication. Again, we have made wonderful leaps and bounds with this by having, if you scroll down for the program synopsis, there's been many programs. We've put on 3 forums, which thank you very much, all have been a part of. The community has been a part of, the judicial system, the law enforcement, the employers, everybody has been a part of to raise the awareness. And we've actually filed for a couple of different grants, so we've been working with that. On page 83, in regards to poverty, that work group is working to reduce the incidence of poverty by increasing the opportunities for quality of life. That one's a smaller one because that's where you're looking at the social determinants of health. And that one's a little bit more intangible, where you have to look at transportation, housing, employment. These things are not going to come overnight, but we work at them a little bit at the time. In regards to the new and emerging issues, it's something that we've told you before. The federal government, Maynard, as they like to say, they have those unfunded mandated requirements, or they go through and they cut from the federal government, and that is a potential worry that if the federal administration cuts the prevention grant fund, that will affect a lot of the public health services. And also in regards, you've heard us talk about Medicaid transformation. I call it Medicaid reform, but it's Medicaid transformation, where they're going from fee-for-service to values-based system. And that's where we're going to work and have to be a part of the managed care organizations. So we're working towards that, not only from our social services side, but from the public health side. And that will affect the private people also, the providers. And then with our Burke Health Network, which is our group of safety net provider organizations, they're working on trying to improve access for care and also looking at a community pharmacy initiative, because drugs cost so much money, and trying to look at how can all the people who work with safety net organizations provide medications for a lower cost. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. And then just to kind of finish it up with the community changes in funding, Fonta Flora Trail and all the great work that's been done by Scott Carpenter and his staff, and what y'all have been able to help support through funding and grants. That's one of the big things to help promote wellness and physical activity. And then we have worked on community health grants for primary care, not only for us. We're finishing up a 3-year grant. I explained back in February we've put in for another 3-year grant for primary care. And also Good Samaritan has one of those grants also for the eastern end of the county, that we collaborate with them on different projects. So in a nutshell, whew, but you have it all laid out in front of you. It's also on the website, and it's on our website. And if you ever have any questions, do you have any questions about it today because we'd like for you to accept it.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Any questions, comments for Rebecca?
Rebecca, I noticed on your chart that Alzheimer's was the largest rate increase category you had at 8.5%. That was followed by diabetes at 5.6. And the third one is a little bit of a surprise. Suicide's up 3.8 in just 1 year. So that's pretty alarming. I don't know what we're going to do about the Alzheimer's and diabetics, or diabetes, but somehow or another we ought to be able to work on that suicide.
And we actually are with the mental health issues. We did QRP, which is the suicide prevention trainings. We offered them last year, and we're also offering them this year. We're doing it for both youth and for adults. And I can get you more information on where, because the general public can come and also see what are the signs and symptoms so that they can become more aware. And we're trying to work with the different providers to make them more aware. So we are working on that.
Yeah. But I just thought those were interesting numbers and
They're
the
very
sharp
alarming
increases.
numbers.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Maynard. Other questions, comments?
Rebecca, on sleep apnea, can we, is there any documentation, I mean, how many people in Burke County die from that a year? Or, I mean, everybody's talking about sleep apnea all of a sudden. But I mean, can we track, I mean, when a person dies, that they died of sleep apnea, or is that just maybe come under a heart attack or something like that?
That would I'll have to go back and look at the causes of death. I'm not sure that I've seen sleep apnea or if it's respiration.
Well, there's just so many
depression.
these clinics now and talking about sleep apnea, and seems to me, are there people dying from sleep apnea, or is it are these doctors trying to push you into one of these devices, or
you either love them or you hate them.
I hate it.
Either love them or you hate them.
But I don't want to die either.
I
I don't want to die either.
I will look, because I'm not sure if that's one of the causes of death that they put it on there, if it's under respiratory distress or respiratory depression. And honestly don't know, but I can check it out and find out. I haven't seen that one come across.
There's just so much talk about sleep apnea every place you go lately. There's.
Thank you, Wayne. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Rebecca. Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item number 8 comes from our IT group, multi-year contract for shared costs in operating records management system. Steve Bennett and Brock.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a placeholder item. We're pending a contract being drafted by the county attorney. We should have that shortly. But this is for a multi-year contract for our law enforcement record management system that's currently shared and jointly used between the city of Morganton, the town of Valdez, and the Burke County Sheriff's Office. And I can answer any questions about that.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve or Brock on this item? I don't think so. This is, as I understand it, a result of the stepping back of Valdez and Morganton and need to do
Yes,
this.
sir. This is the existing cost share structure for this application goes away with the interlocal agreement. So this would be a multi-year contract that would lock in budget numbers for everybody for 6 years.
Okay. Questions? All right. Thank you, Steve. Bruce, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Item number 9 in the consent agenda is JCPC, approval of county plan for Burke County and funding allocation. This will be presented by Rebecca and AJ.
Good afternoon, gentlemen and
Good
Kate.
afternoon.
The Juvenile Crime Prevention Council is on your agenda, item number 9 and 10. Item number 9 is the county annual plan for the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and as you know, we come each year and offer you the council's plan for the funding, disbursement of funds that we typically receive by the state. The council is charged with complying with all state regulations, rules, statutes, recommendations, obligations, and whatever intimation of what they think we should do. And they have done that this year. You can see in your packet that there are a number of documents that support the fact that the council's subcommittees have reviewed all the research and information that the state and the juvenile court counselors offer us for the risk and needs assessments. And with the help of the juvenile court counselors, they have prioritized a list of the services that they believe is necessary. The entire council has supported the list that you'll see in the, in the plan. There's a continuum of services in the plan as well that maps out what was found to be available and what was not available or not accessible by the group of youth that we target. The request for proposal was put together by the Finance Committee, and the legal obligations were followed to publish that and get it to as many people as possible. They also created a timeline for that activity and the obligations of the programs to follow. The Finance Committee vetted all of the program applications and came up with a recommendation, and the entire council has approved those. That is in your packet as well. The program agreements were filed with the state as required in the computer system NC Allies, and that list and those amounts are also in your packet. And they're for your approval.
We'd like for y'all to approve the 18-19 county plan with the $230,000 and $294 as the funding allocation with the programs presented to you. We'll take questions.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment? This group of people meet about as many times as the Board of Commissioners meet on doing their budget. And we had a retirement party for Mr. Massey, who will not be the regional director anymore. But anyhow, each one of these groups had to meet, and I forgot how much we started with, but anyhow, you had to take about, what, $120,000 or so off the budget to get it to where it was at the beginning point of the request. It was $100-some thousand. So, good, a hard-working group of people on those committees. So just wanted to pass that along to you.
Okay, thank you, Maynard. Any other questions, comments? All right. You want to carry on then with item number 10, approval of the JCPC certification?
Yes, sir. We'd also appreciate your approval of the certification standards. It is a common set of standards that the state requires to assure that we have done all the steps that we were just talking about with our annual plan, and that we fulfill their requirements for the sorts of bylaws that are required and council members and so forth. And that's in your packet as well, all of those documents.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. You've had this information as well. Any questions, comments to AJ or Rebecca? And along with Maynard, let me say on behalf of the board, we do appreciate all the work. When you look down this list, a lot of folks are involved, and I'm sure give a lot of their time and efforts to work together, and we certainly appreciate what you all are doing and continue to do for us here in Burke County. Any questions, comments? All right, hearing none, both of these items will remain on the consent
Thank y'all.
agenda without objection. This brings us to items 11 and 12, Tax Department. Item number 11, Release Refund Report for April 2018. This will be brought by Danny Eisenhower, our Tax Administrator. Afternoon, Danny.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Of course, this being the first day of the month, it's sort of hard to get these reports out, so I've got just a abbreviated report for you today.
You had all night, Danny.
Well, I'm not quite that dedicated. Okay, for the release and refunds, you can see on the report there, we had releases for $1,514.59. There were no rebills, and then we had a refund amount of $437.61, and then the vehicle tax refunds were $352.78.
All right, thank you, Danny. Any questions for Danny on this item? Hearing none, item 11 will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item 12, Tax Collection Report. Danny.
Okay, for tax collection report, I'll start sort of at the bottom. The late list penalties were at 92% of budget. Delinquent taxes were at 76.84%, and current year taxes were at 97.04%. And you'll go down to the columns below, you'll see how the current year taxes break out at 99.55% of property tax and 74.42% of vehicle tax.
All right.
And I will follow these up with the backup support to the clerk this evening.
All right. Any questions for Danny on this item? All right. Hearing none, we'll leave these items on as without objection. This brings us to item. Thank you, Danny. This brings us to item number 6, items for decision. We have one item this month. It'll be the county manager's presentation of the recommended budget for fiscal year 18-19 and the scheduling of the public hearing. Brian, any comments at this point?
Nope, we're still working on it. We'll have it ready for you on the meeting evening, and we've got a few last things to wrap up. And of course, all the nice little surprises that the state gives us, and we'll be fine.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian at this point? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Then item number 7, reports. Item 1, finance, county financial report for the period ending March 31, 2018. This is placeholder. Also, Paul, any comments at this time?
No, just, wait and try to wrap up budget so they can start on that report. So we'll have it at the meeting.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul on this item? All right. Item number 6, other discussion items. Resolution amending the board's 2018 meeting schedule. This will come from Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to adopt a resolution today, canceling our May 22nd budget meeting and moving it to Monday, May 21st. We've had a couple folks have a scheduling conflict and need to move the meeting from Tuesday, the 22nd, to Monday, the 21st, still at 3 o'clock in this room.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard this request. We do have a couple of conflicts on that date. We'll be asked to move it a day forward. Any problems with that move? Everybody okay with it? Okay, and hearing none, we'll leave that to matter on.
We need to adopt that today.
Need to adopt that today. That's resolution 2018-12. Okay, and we do have that, gentlemen. So, hearing no problem with that, I'll entertain a motion to do so. Thank you, Wayne. All those in favor, please signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. One other item we did receive, I want to just acknowledge this item from a number of our Burke County veterans. Guys, appreciate you all being here today. Madam Clerk will get this information out to us. It's concerning requests to continue work on a monument for those killed from Burke County, all veterans. So we'll be getting that information and consider that during our budget process as well. Okay, Madam Clerk will get that out maybe tomorrow. Okay. All right. All right. This brings us to adjournment. Gentlemen, any other things we need to hear today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I think everybody has become aware. I received a text this morning at 10:21 from Mayor Ronnie Thompson that his mother passed away. I would ask that we remember Ronnie and his family. There's no arrangements as of yet, so I'm sure Madam Clerk will get those to us as soon as she can.
All right. Thank you, Johnny. I do appreciate that reminder. Be mindful of the mayor and his family during this time of loss. Anything else we need to hear today? All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Maynard. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. I believe that's all of us, Madam Clerk.